All right, Ashley, it looks like we are live on Facebook.
All right, perfect. So we are here with Chef Kevin, as we mentioned earlier, from Beth Yeshurun for our Passover Lunch and Learn, Kosher for Passover in the Kitchen. I'm going to give it away to Chef Kevin to let us know what we've got.
Hello, we're going to be doing a couple of types of roasted for the Passover dinner seders. We're offering Ashkenazi and we'll just be demonstrating today Ashkenazi and Sephardic. I'm sorry, excuse me. We're nervous doing this. We're going to start with the Sephardic today because it takes a little longer. It goes back to the stove. The Ashkenazi is not one of the roasted we use. It's mostly all fresh product. These dates and oranges and apricots, we're going to take over to the food processor. We're going to chop it up together. Which dates. I did hydrate the dates. That's one of the things. Let them sit in a little warm water to give them a little easier texture. So they're dry dates. So we did hydrate them along with the apricots are hydrated.
About how much of each are we putting in?
I like to use a little more dates because it has more sugar content. And now we're going to give it a rough chop. Food processor. Go forward. Okay.
Let's take a look.
Right in there, just like that. And we're going to empty it into our saucepan. Our saucepan right here. And we'll take out all of this.
I think I have that same copper bottom pot at home. It's been in our family forever.
It was probably donated by somebody. We have a wonderful congregation that loves to donate to us, and we have lots of different things that we accumulate. All right, now we're going to put a half a cup, measured out generously, of wine.
Manischewitz, of course, since it's Passover.
Manischewitz. We're going to do a little honey. Okay. And a little cinnamon. And what we're going to do is warm it on the stove. Have all the flavors come together. And studying up Haralsit and having the term, trying to look it up and pronounce all the words. It's been very different for me. So we did find out the term is meant clay. And then I've heard other people say it's the mortar. Well, to me, it just depends on families and what you want to turn it out to have it represent for your family and what exactly meaning. Because it's been written in several different ways of where the term came about, roasted, and some say it's the mortar, it's the clay that binds the people, the Hebrews together, and it represents the Exodus of Egypt. And it also was read about the Hebrew women would go give birth under the apple trees in Egypt in silence to hide the fact of a son being born. So that was another story I read up about. So I'm sure everybody has their own meaning or their own thing. I was trying to explain to Marco. I said, a roast is kind of like your grandma's tamales. Nobody makes them like her. So it's just everybody's family has a different recipe. So it's just everybody to each his own. Some people like nuts in it. Some people don't. This particular one doesn't have any nuts. So we'll turn it down. What we did was just warm up the wine. So it blends the cinnamon, the honey, the sugar, all together from the dried fruit. Okay. And we'll pour it in.
And we'll be updating our site and all of that with the recipes, I believe, later. Oh my goodness, I'm over the cinnamon bowl and it smells delightful.
All right, that's the one that takes a little longer. You can cook it down as far as you'd like to and add more wine.
But that was quick. It only took us about 5 minutes from food processor.
And as you see, this particular haroset is more of pasty. And then, that's just the spread on your matzah.
Yum.
So that's a different type of what we make. And then we have we're using Granny Smith's for the Ashkenazi type almonds.
So I know at my house we use the red apples because we like it a little bit sweeter. What does the green apple?
It's a little tartar.
The tart.
It's tart, but with the wine, we have brown sugar, cinnamon, honey. Kind of do it all the sweetness.
And I would think maybe the firmness, because I know Granny Smith are a lot firmer than the red ones. So it probably holds up in the food processor.
Never fails. Yeah, it's a telemarketer.
Of course. They want to connect virtually as well. Oh, look at those walnuts. We usually do pecans, I know, for us at home.
Either way, like I said, everybody has their own recipe, what they like, what they don't like. And we're throwing in our raw Granny Smith right in here. That's about 5 Granny Smiths.
And we peeled them and chopped them.
Yes, we did.
Perfect.
And some people leave the skin on for more texture. We had a little bit of walnut. A little bit of honey. And brown sugar. That's what Mick Jagger said. All right. With cinnamon and the manischewitz.
Of course. But we could also use grape juice
We can.
to substitute if we're not wanting to add the alcohol.
But we do. Keep pulsing. There you go. There's the mortar. Pour it in over here. Here's our spoon.
This would probably be a great recipe to do at home with kids.
We sure will. And the kids love this stuff, this hands-on type of thing. And it's not dangerous, no fire involved in this one. So, also, you can do it. If you don't have a food processor, we can just show you, just do everything by knife. One day we'll probably do a cooking class or a knife using class, because what I found that people that don't have a restaurant or culinary background do not use their knives well at home.
Ashley, we had a question come up in the Facebook.
Oh, we have a question. What's the question?
The question is, what's a good substitute for nuts if you want to have a nut-free haroset, but you still want some of that texture?
Great question. What would we substitute for nuts if we were trying to have our haroset be nut-free, something that would bring in that texture?
Well, you can keep the apples with the skin on. Keeps the texture involved, so that can be done. As far as if you want to chop the dates, because these dates, when they're dry, they get very firm and they're kind of woody. So they're fibrous. You can add date. You can see that they're very fibrous inside. And if you, as I hydrated these, so these are pliable now. But if you want to keep them firm, dried, and just chop them up by hand, that would be one of the things you can do. One of the tips I learned when I'm looking up all these things is that spraying your knife with oil when you're cutting the dried fruit. It's fibers, so they won't stick. There, the apricots. I don't know if you've cut apricots before. Very sticky.
It just glides off. That's perfect.
And so you can chop it all up just like that. See? And now keep it fibrous. And your apple the same. If you want to just cut it down, keep the skin on. And turn it over. Turn that over. Nice and very fine. You can mix it all together, and there you're going to have fibrous, crunchy, right there.
All that texture.
So now you have texture.
Beautiful. And I just checked in with Marco, who is one of our great members of our food service and catering office. And we wanted to make sure that we mentioned that we have Shabbat to go boxes this year. And haroset will be one of the items included in there.
In the Passover.
In the Passover to go box.
We have Shabbat to go. We're going to have it every week, every Friday, of course.
We do, and we've added on some weekday meals.
And we're going to have the Passover Seders, first night, second night. You can pick up one or both, or choose your night, choose your menu. One will be beef, one will be chicken. We're going to have the brisket. We will have...
and it's fully kosher.
Yes, it is. That's the only way we can do it here in the synagogue.
Of course. $36 per person. And we also have Seder plates, kosher Seder plates that'll be available on that side as well, with our roasted shank bone and our parsley and lettuce and haroset and maror, all of the necessary items to have your Seder plate complete.
Ashley, I've got another question for you.
Great.
So, Chef Kevin, the question is, how long will this haroset last in the fridge?
Typically a week. It should be about a week. It could probably possibly more. The wine will and the sugars will keep everything pretty good
And that would be for
in
both
the
of them.
refrigerator. But make sure it's in the refrigerator. And as you serve the roasted, throughout your week-long Passover meals, just let's see. Now pass me the wine, please, and the sugar. This one does not have the thank you. The nuts.
See, Chef Kevin just made us, after that question, nut-free wine right on the spot. Look how
There.
easy that was with all of the ingredients we already had
Thank you,
on
Marco.
hand.
That's good. There we go. Let me just mix it up. And it's fibrous, and it's crunchy, and it doesn't have any nuts.
Yum. So I know for mine at home, we usually like to let them sit in the fridge for a couple of hours to marinate. How far in advance should we make our haroset for our Seder?
1 to 2 days, I would imagine, it would be the best, optimum flavor. That way, you'll be able to use it for the next few days. With the wine and everything, the longer it sits, the finer, the finer the wine. There you go. So everything will get all saturated and beautiful flavors. And you can use different types of wine, but of course, we're using the Morgan Day, the Manischewitz.
Perfect.
Either one. So,
Great. And I see raisins on the table. We could throw
yes,
that.
well, this was my first Sephardi recipe was with the raisins, and I didn't use it for this one because one of the recipes I looked up was just the dried fruit. So it didn't have the oranges they cooked into it. And these are the dried fruits that had the original recipe that I didn't show you yet, but that's the one that we did. We decided, since the last minute, I saw the one with the oranges, and I said, this is a lot different. It actually uses the stove, and to me, it seems like a lot more flavor.
Right. We don't often see a cooked haroset, at least from my side, because we come from the Ashkenazi side. So it's typically
Yeah, so that's why I decided to do this one differently. But the golden raisins can be used throughout. You can use it for your matzah kugel if you want a sweet one, or you have the Passover noodles.
Oh,
Your
yum.
noodle kugel. And there's also doing a matzo dressing, which is more savory for your meals. So which way you'd like to go, it will definitely be able to try to help in some sort of fashion.
Right. So outside of the Seder and making our matzah sandwiches, are there some other ways that we could repurpose the haroset, maybe integrate it into some Passover recipes, or?
Well, sure. You can blend them into any kind of a salad.
Ooh.
So if you have the leftover chicken meat, things like that, a little Passover mayo, blend it like that, so you'll have a chicken salad.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in your dressing,
Mm-hmm.
some oil and vinegar. That way you can pour it over your salad, your lettuces, that type of thing.
We put it on our matzo brie sometimes, like our matzo pancake.
You can do that. You have Passover cheese. You have
Mm-hmm.
an accompaniment with that, and it's just endless in which way you can use these different little things. Because definitely goes good with the chicken, or if you're having a turkey breast, or covering a salmon, an accompaniment with the salmon. So a little horseradish. You can blend the horseradish in with the sweet and fruity to have a different spread. So a lot of things can be blended in and put on top of, or added to it to make something totally different.
Yum. Do we have any other questions coming through or comments? Maybe some ideas that people use at home for their haroset or ingredients, because it's one of these things that's great. It looks like we can kind of blend that Ashkenazi or Sephardic. Like, I am all about this orange one. You can't even smell it here or virtually, but this orange, just as it heated up, it was super fragrant. And the cinnamon, of course.
So if any more questions, I'm ready for you. Let's see what I can do. Make sure you place your orders online for the Passover Seder. We'll be glad to help all the families, all the congregants.
Definitely. That pickup is going to be the Wednesday, the first Seder, first night. There will be curbside pickup. All of those orders can be placed on our website. We have a great hub, the bethyeshurun.org/virtual community. You can find links to our Passover to go as well as our Shabbat to go menus. And it really is an awesome deal.
Ashley, we've had a bunch of people ask for the recipe, which I said we're going to post later online. And then we've also had several people ask about the Shabbat and Passover to go. So I've put those links in the Facebook feed as well.
Great. Okay, so I think with that, we are going to sign off. And I thank you very much for joining us with Chef Kevin.
Thank you, guys.
For Kosher for Passover in the kitchen.
Hope to see y'all soon. Hope everything passes by. Health be with you. And to all, hope to see y'all again soon. Bye-bye.